I know there is a tradition to keep certain convention speeches upbeat, but if you will indulge me, I would like to begin by taking a moment to thank a few individuals, some very special individuals who could not be with us today. They are Kyle Fernandez, Nainoa Ho, Dason Cariaga, Myla Varivalosa, Luis Calapini, and there are many more. Unfortunately, this roll call represents an even longer list of those who cannot be here today. They could not be here because they are no longer with us. But what we owe them as a state and as a nation is immeasurable. They are the sons and daughters, the brothers and sisters, the neighbors and co-workers who have died in the war in Iraq. More than 120 with Hawai'i connections, and more than 2,400 nationwide. They are the ones with lives cut short, dreams unfulfilled, and families left devastated. Because of a decision by the Bush administration to go to war, because of a decision to fight a war undermanned and under-equipped, because of a decision to remain in Iraq with no clear strategy for peace. When someone says to me, "What does it matter? Democrats and Republicans are all alike." I would suggest to them to ask the families of these individuals if it would have made a difference if a Democrat was in the White House when the decision was made. While I cannot speak for these families, clearly, I believe it would. It is highly appropriate that we remind Hawaii's voters what this war has cost our families. It is highly appropriate to ask, even in hindsight, whether this war was just and warranted. It is highly appropriate to demand of this administration a strategy and timetable for peace and how we intend to ensure a stable and democratic government in Iraq. It is highly appropriate that we question this administration's willingness to dismiss concerns over privacy and civil liberties for the apparent sake of national security. This is no time for the faint-hearted, no time for the inexperienced, because this Republican White House has thrown down the gauntlet and becomes bolder and more brazen every day. They have used anger, fear, and secrecy as justification, motivation, and diversion for what they do. They use our anger to go to war with Iraq. They use fear to convince people to look the other way. And they have operated under the cloak of secrecy when they cannot justify their actions. Friends, this is not what America is all about. We are an open nation that is not afraid to put everything on the table for history and the world to judge. We need a strong congressional team if we are to return to a more rational method of governing and dealing with serious issues. We need a strong congressional team if we are to return international respect for America as a great and just nation. That's why I believe that Hawaii needs all the security, experience, and wisdom that we can muster in Washington, D.C. That's why I continue to fight the good fight, working with Senator Inouye, the rest of Hawaii's delegation, and other Democrats. That's why I need your support. That's why I need your vote.